Welcome back to the Bulwark. I am joined by the great Will Saletan, who I don't want to blow up your spot here. Let's just say he's not in the office, but he agreed to join us because he is watching this stuff as well as everyone else. You can tell by the scruffy beard he has been maybe on vacation. Will, how you doing, man? It's great to see you.
I'm doing great. It's just for fun. I'm wearing the beard. It's the vacation beard. I don't shave it off till I win Wimbledon, the U.S. Open, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Just so everybody knows, I was going to shave the beard off, and Sam said, "No, we're going for the rugged look."
I got it going too. Not as much as you, but I do the convention beard, so it's like the same thing. I'll shave it off Friday.
I relayed to my family that what you said about rugged. And my sister-in-law literally said to my wife, "Rugged is not a word I would use to describe your husband." I come from a long line of desk-bound Jews, but I'm doing my best out here.
There we go. Well, we have an overflow of desk-bound Jews on this morning YouTube. Let's talk about the convention. I've been in the halls and watching it from the floor. I'm kind of curious, as someone who's consumed it over a different medium, how it is, how you viewed it, especially last night, which had, among other things, Oprah, which was wild, John Legend performing Prince, Tim Walz, crop of young, new up-and-coming Democrats. What were your impressions of it? How did it come out over a television viewing experience?
So, I know you want to talk about a bunch of things. Since I'm the guy who hasn't been writing about it for 3 days, I got all this pent-up stuff to say about various things on the convention, so I'm happy to go into that. The last night thing was, I actually thought last night was generally a bad night, and then Tim Walz came on, and he was basically good. The convention overall, for me, I'm trying to watch this like a normal person. I'm with my family. The biggest thing that strikes me is the contrast between this and the Republican convention.
Yeah. So
the Republican convention, people at the Bulwark, we've been talking for a long time about authoritarianism and democracy, and the Democratic Party being the party of democracy, and it's a little bit complicated because of the way in which Kamala Harris became the nominee. It wasn't through primaries. It ended up being sort of the delegates converging. But the overwhelming thing to me is the Republican convention was about a man. That is what authoritarianism is. It's about this guy. They tried to kill him. He survived. He's the hero, and everything's about him. And all of the policy that used to define the Republican Party has kind of been washed away. I'm out here at a beach, the ocean comes and it takes it away. It's all gone, Sam. There is no continuity.
Yeah. I'm kind of trying to think what they talked about at the convention on a policy standpoint. And I can't tell you, honestly. And I was there. I was listening to all the speeches. But there was not much in the way of substance. All right, so you have that, and then you contrast it to
Bill Clinton gave what I thought was a bad speech last night because he took half an hour when he should have done it in less. His wife's speech was better. I can't believe I'm saying this. Sam, Joe Biden gave a better speech than Bill Clinton. What the hell?
Bill was laboring on every word. It just took a while. I will say, the people in the audience, because it was taking so long. I was checking to see if everyone in the audience was on their phones, because felt like one of those speeches where you just sort of eventually look down and you're playing like Minesweeper or something. But yeah, most people in the audience were still paying attention. I think they kind of recognized that this might be his last big DNC speech, maybe his last one. But I will concede that it was not like soaring oratory or particularly moving.
Yeah. So I don't know what it was like. It's interesting to hear from you what it was like in what Bill Clinton took half an hour to say this, so it was way too long. But there are some things, if you listened, Bill Clinton is still very good at getting to the core of some things, and he said this one line. I don't know if you guys have talked about this. When you listen to Trump, don't count the lies, count the eyes.
Yeah.
And that's he captured this fundamental thing about Trump. It's about this guy and his obsession with himself. And I think the Democrats have been very effective saying, look, we're a party about more than one man. The guy Biden shows up. Thank you, Joe. Joe says it's not about me. He steps aside. We move on. And then you see this continuity. You see all these bridges. You've got Hillary Clinton. You've got Barack Obama. You've got Biden himself being the bridge to Kamala. And so it's like it's a party of institutions and passing along, and there's values and policies we talk about. And
Right.
then the Republicans is just this guy, and it's like an evacuated party. So that to me that was really stood
Let
out.
me let me let me test you on. Let me push you on this one thing. Well, I totally agree with that analysis. I thought there was a piece by John Harris in Politico yesterday, and this was after the Obamas spoke, and it was supplemented by a piece in the New York Times today that I think got at the same nugget, which is sort of the portrayal of Trump at this convention. You know, Biden for 3.5, 4 years, maybe more, has portrayed Trump as this existential threat, not a threat to democracy, uniquely authoritarian, and almost puffed him up a bit, like this man singular in the threat that he poses to our nation. Over the last 2 days, and Clinton did it too with the lies and eyes line. It's almost like they're trying to diminish him into a caricature, a buffoon, someone who I think it was Barack Obama, the guy with the leaf blower outside the window who just won't stop blowing leaves. And it's not that they don't value the threat that he poses, but they're portraying him as almost a comical doofus who's just a gnat that we need to rid our body politic of. I'm curious if you think that's a wise play because Biden won. I mean, Biden did win, or if this is the right thing to do, or if it's the wrong thing to do.
I think it's worth. I like experiments. I think this is worth. Look, the thing, Sam, is like I've been at the Bulwark for a couple of years. Other people longer, and we've been hyperventilating for the whole time about this guy is a threat to democracy, and he is. He's totally scary. But we've sort of said all that. And I think we've got the people we're going to get with that. And maybe the Democratic Party is feeling that way. And at this convention, I don't see a lot of that. I mean, Jamie Raskin was trying. I mean, I missed the January 6th footage.
Yeah, they had a big January 6th montage, and Benny Thompson came out, and they had all the ex-Trumpers who were like, no, this guy really is as bad as you think he might be. But I think by and large, it was sort of more of, look at this buffoon.
Uh-huh. So I think it is worth doing this. I think it is worth playing, especially because, let me put this in two ways. There's a lot of talk at this convention about joy. We're all joyful warriors. I guess that's a fine message internally to like get people out to like, you're talking to your convention audience, like the people in the convention.
Look at us, filled with joy.
and as you point out, it's a weird contrast with like A, the authoritarianism, B, the people unhappy with the economy. Like you're going to really go out with a joy message to the public. Yeah. So I'm very skeptical of the joy thing as a general message, but fatigue is a really strong, like what did Obama say? The guy's act has gone stale.
Yeah.
You know, and Walz said something about it's time to turn the page.
Oh yeah.
Fatigue is a very powerful force, and people are sick of Trump. And maybe this whole leaf blower thing and like Trump constantly talking about himself and Obama's joke about the crowd size and stuff like that. I do think that
even Oprah was like, we're not ready for we don't want the age of mean tweets. It's like, it's all about, and the whole message of we're not going back. I mean, that is a message of we are tired of this shit. And the fatigue, I think the fatigue thing has a lot of resonance. I mean, God, we live it. Like you and I live. The idea of covering 4 years of this, having gone through 4 years of it, is like exhausting to think about.
It is. And so here's the thing about the fatigue though. If people are sick and tired of this, they're just sick and tired. The more we talk about the authoritarianism and January 6th, aren't we becoming part of the fatigue? Can we put that behind us? I don't want to hear about January 6th. I don't want to hear about all this stuff. Right. I got a life to live. And maybe by shifting from the hyperventilating to, the fatigue argument, we're saying, yeah, that all happened. It's all bad. We're sick of this guy. Maybe that's enough to nudge a couple of percent.
I think you can complement each other, which is like part of the fatigue that everyone experiences is the fatigue of having to be on guard from threats that you shouldn't have to be on guard for, right? Like you shouldn't have to worry that there's going to be an insurrection at your Capitol, right? Like you shouldn't have to worry that someone's going to launch defamatory lies about election workers, right? Those are the fatigues that I don't want to have to deal with, or I'm sure a lot of voters. And then there's the fatigue of just like this man is constantly in our lives and saying outrageous things. And Mark Caputo has a piece up today where he's talking about Trump and his debate strategy, and all his advisors are like, look, you cannot go on stage and call Kamala Harris dumb. Like, you just can't do that. And he's like, you know what? I'm going to do that. I hate her and I hate everybody, and I'm going to do it. That's a different type of fatigue where it's like, do we need to watch a debate where you're just being a jerk? Like, can't we just have something a little less problematic? So I don't know. There's a couple different types of fatigue.
Can I press you on this a little bit though?
Yeah.
As a political matter,
yeah.
If we're in a turnout election, a mobilization election, I don't know if that's true, but to the extent it's true, sure. The hyperventilating tells people, you got to turn out. The nation is in crisis. We must save ourselves. And honestly, I think that's true. The fatigue message is a broader message, something that's broadly shared, but does it get people to turn out?
I don't know. I mean, I guess, but one doesn't have to go at the expense of the other, I suppose. Like, I'm sure they're going to send plenty of those fundraising emails. Like, democracy is at stake. Donate now. But I do think there's, I wonder if so this is why I'm curious about the TV audience versus the in the room audience. Because the in the room audience wants all the red meat stuff. And I think they were, moved a lot by Oprah. They thought the January 6th video was incredibly compelling. Benny Thompson got huge ovation. I mean, people watching on the tube who are tuning into politics probably have no effing clue who Benny Thompson is, right? But in the hall, they're like, yeah, this is our hero. And so for the larger audience, I think the fatigue messaging probably works. I'm saying this with not much conviction, because you're touching people who think of politics not as a sport, but something they check in every 3.5 years, 4 years, and they're like, oh, do we have to do this again? But then you supplement that or complement that, I suppose, with the stakes are existential, and that's for the base, and that's where you get the turnout. Maybe you do both. What did you think of Oprah? You didn't like Oprah?
I thought Oprah was fine. I mean, I was so depressed by the whole, I was all built up for this evening, and I was just disappointed wall to wall. I don't know. I expected Bill Clinton to be a great speaker, and what I saw was tired old Bill Clinton. And then
I thought the West. So Oprah was obviously, first of all, it's kind of crazy, but world class speakers, Oprah's got to be up there, right? She's top 10 world class speakers in society, and so people are like, oh, she gave a great speech. She's like, yeah, she gave a great speech. That's her, that's her skill set. She's really good at that stuff. I thought then they had Shapiro, Westmore, and Pete Buttigieg, and I was like, this is a pretty compelling list of up and coming Democrats. And what stood out, put aside Shapiro, is Buttigieg, Walz, and Westmore all had military service, and they all went in there and they were emphasizing military service. And then Walz is talking about guns, and then he brings his high school football team on, and they're mocking Yale, and they're talking about Parmesan casseroles. I was like, this is appropriating Republican symbolism, right?
Totally. The first of all, that lineup. Look, I'm a huge Mayor Pete fan, but I've seen all these lines before. He's done them all on TV, and I just feel like he was not a good convention speaker. I mean, it's not. Maybe it's just not his thing. Westmore was terrific, I thought, just forceful. What I really saw was the youth and strength. I was really struck by the old people. Biden gave a great speech for Biden.
Why does Westmore look so good? What the hell?
He's young. He's in his prime. I hate to say it, but it's can I just say for all of the fanboys at the Bulwark about Josh Shapiro, I thought he was kind of lame. I mean, the contrast between I'm
with all the tough critic, man.
In the Bulwark Slack, everybody's just all over Josh Shapiro.
Yeah, they do.
Josh Shapiro was I don't know. He just looked like a lawyer trying to do black church, and he's okay, he's fine, but the contrast with Walz.
Walz was let's do that. Yeah, let's talk about Walz, because that was. I mean, there's been a lot of. I will not to reveal too much. There's been some Walz skepticism in our Slacks, right? It is what it is. I thought he killed it last night. I thought he was just and the reason I thought he killed it. I mean, the speech was great. The son, Gus Walz, crying, being like, "There's my dad." Oh my God, as a dad, you want that. But also, what I really liked about it was 20 minutes, and that was it. In and out, all business. Not going to go on. He hit his spots, and Don, what did you like about it?
Oh, so okay, I want to ask you a question. I'll ask it now. You can think about it while I'm
All
talking.
right, all right. Ask it, then you go, and then I'll
Okay,
come back.
that with because you've covered a lot of politics, and I have too. I think you've covered it more intensively. I was like tearing up. I'm like watching this family tearing up. I'm like, this is a real family. And then I'm checking myself and asking, should I be doing this? Am I just being a sap? Am I part of the liberal media, just like falling into this, like taking this politician seriously when I don't take others seriously? So I felt like I was seeing reality. I felt like I was seeing just the humanity of a family. And I thought, my God, this whole Walz family, they wear their heart on their sleeve. They're right out there. The daughter is crying. The daughter is giving the heart sign. He's talking about we wouldn't have this baby without IVF, and she is the baby, and she's like, I love you too, Dad. The son's standing up, and like you can practically read it like the kid is like just the goofiest, most lovable. Then you contrast that with the Trumps are older. But like you look at the Trumps and it's like some, corrupt royal family where or it's like a mafia family and everybody's like serious, everybody's like in a suit, and you just don't get this vibe of reality off them. And I didn't get it off Josh Shapiro either. Look, if Josh Shapiro had his family out there, maybe it would look the same. I feel like when I'm listening to Tim Walz, I'm listening to a real guy. I don't always agree with him. I don't like when he does couch jokes. There's things that but he's honestly like to the left of me. Like there's a lot of policy stuff where I'm like, have you ever heard of something you wouldn't spend taxpayers' money on? It's like the answer seems to be no. But like he just seems real to me. Okay, am I a sap? Should we back off of this?
Slightly sappy, but not like in a way that I think is problematic at all. I think if you didn't have, like, you'd have to not have like an emotional fiber in your body to not get choked up at the son standing up, the son who suffers from nonverbal learning issues, and they've been open about it, and he's up there and he's trying to communicate, and he's sobbing. I mean, just sobbing, pointing at his dad. That's my dad. I mean, if you are a father, and I am, and you have a son, like that's what you hope for, right? Like that transcends politics. You want your kid to feel proud of you, or you want to make your kid feel proud. And I think in that moment, to see it happen and spool out on the national stage, you're totally valid to feel it doesn't matter who's speaking. Like that stuff is moving. And then I think the contrast with the Trumps is totally valid too. I mean, they've, on various points, the Trump political operation has tried to humanize Donald Trump by saying, look, he actually has a family and they care about him, and his brother Fred died of alcoholism, and but Trump never can and probably doesn't have the capacity to expose that part of himself, because it exposes a bit of your vulnerabilities. It exposes a bit of your, internal personal life. And Trump has this incredible facade about him where it's like, no, I'm just a businessman who like eats overdone steak and, makes deals, right? Like that's it. That's all we know about Trump.
But the contrast with Biden there, like think about like Biden at this convention everyone's shouting, thank you, Joe, 100 times, right?
Right.
And Biden keeps interjecting, thank you, Kamala, right?
Yeah.
And then he says in his speech, I'll be the best volunteer this campaign's ever seen. Like the president of the United States saying, can you imagine Donald Trump saying any such thing?
No.
It's just inconceivable.
Well, yeah. And not only that, it's like, I mean, we kind of gloss over this, but it is really remarkable. Like at the Republican convention, he didn't have his vice president. He didn't have Mitt Romney, who was the last Republican to run for president. He didn't have any of the Bushes, who are, George W. is alive, right? Like, I mean, he's alive. George W. is somewhere. Like, none of the old Republican luminaries showed up. And not only that, like a number of Trump's cabinet officials just didn't show up. And we're like, well, they don't like the guy. But like, that to me, that is like materially important. The people who like matter politically, who've done this before and who've worked with the guy, just didn't show up and didn't vouch for him. And that's the great contrast of these conventions, is that even amidst this incredible tumult that the Democratic Party has been going through in the past 3 or 4 weeks, which could have really, gone sideways, right? Like we could have been in a situation where we went into this convention, a huge chunk of the party was just pissed at how this all played out, either because they really like Biden, or they didn't like the Harris coronation, or they're just mad about what's happening in Gaza. Like there's really some tectonic stuff happening here. And yet they came here, and for 3 days now, it's been an insane atmosphere of like, cohesion, energy, and mission. And that was not a guarantee. And so that's been my main takeaway here. And I guess that gets to what you're talking about. It also kind of gets to what Walz was trying to do yesterday, which was more or less be like, look, there's a commonality to our mission. We're sane. We need to bring politics back to a saner place, and we're all in this together, right? Like we just have to move forward. So yeah, I think it's been, I would say the convention's been pretty solid so far. What are you thinking from Harris tonight? Like, what's your prediction?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, it's this whole thing where the candidate goes around and is doing rallies at the same time as the convention feels a little weird to me. Although they're in the Midwest, it's just like, am I supposed to pay attention to this or the other? I watched a little of Kamala doing a couple of events, and the thing that really kills me, Sam, is this whole Coach Walz thing. And we saw this. Obviously there were like everybody had the Coach Walz signs, and everybody talking about Coach Walz, and we're gonna have Steve Kerr there, and it's all this coach fetish that's going on in the Democratic Party right now. I mean, Sam, I believe in Milwaukee, I believe Kamala referred to Coach 5 times. Okay. And like, it's Coach Walz, it's what a great coach he is. It's the coach and I, the coach, like the fact that he's a teacher is almost beside the point. I feel like she's got a coach kink. The whole Democratic Party has this coach kink.
Also, how long ago was he a coach? He's had many titles.
Yeah, and this whole coach metaphor they're playing, like the coach. Amy Klobuchar was like talking about how like, this coach he took an 0-27 team and won the state championship. First of all, like I want to do some investigative reporting on how he won. Did he really? And how did this happen? And but like. You take an Owen. Come on, really? Like, what kind of state has a team that goes...
That one will. Come on, that one's easy to check. I'm sure I'm sure they have that one right.
But like, she has this whole thing about who better to level the playing field than a coach. Yeah, who better to figure out how to do gas prices than a guy who can change a tire? Really?
It's true.
I don't think that's true.
In any other context, you'd be like, oh, he's a high school football coach. Does that qualify him to be a heartbeat away? Yeah, definitely. Like, yeah, okay. He turned around Marquetto or Mantetto's season. Like, yeah, he should get the nukes. Like, yeah. What are you talking about?
This is the story I want to find out. Like, inside the Kamala Veep search, how big a factor was, they're sitting there with the candidate. I got this on this guy and this on this person. Yeah. And how big a thing was, and he's a football coach and he won the state championship. Because it's all the vibes I get off of Kamala are like, oh, that was the killer. That sold him.
I think you might be right. I think like they really love the fact that he's just so he comes across almost as non-political, like in his whole Midwestern demeanor, and they're all playing up the flannel shirts too. Oh yeah, which is really, they're really into the flannel shirts. Yeah, as if he like discovered worn in flannel. Like I have a closet filled with worn in flannel. Should I run for office? Like this is not a prerequisite for the job. All right, before we go, I want to talk about RFK because RFK is making news. He is set to, I guess, suspend his campaign tomorrow, Friday. There's some conflicting reports about whether he'll endorse Donald Trump, whether Trump is offering him a cabinet post, potentially, or the other couple of reports are that RFK wants money for his to have ballot access so that in the future independents can be on the ballot in certain states. And then there's another report that his wife, Cheryl Hines, the actress, is encouraging him not to endorse Donald Trump. There's a lot of moving parts here. So I just want to, that is the sort of context in which we discuss this. One, he hasn't really campaigned in many, many months. Like, other than that weird bear video, we haven't really heard much from RFK Jr. So, and two, his support was kind of on a sliding scale downward. I I think it's fair to say he was taking more from Trump, which means that if he leaves the race, more is given to Trump. But what's your take on what this could mean potentially for the race?
It's always hard to tell with these declining independents, because
Right.
the thing is, he's shed some support, and the question is, who has he shed? Has he already
Right.
shed the people who would go, if they had to, go to Harris? Is the remainder necessarily Trump people? But the thing that really strikes me, Sam, is, since I've been watching a bunch of our focus groups that Sarah does, that RFK is a residual cat. He's for the people who were like, can't, they're haters. They didn't like Biden. They didn't like Trump. A lot of them don't like Harris. I got a feeling these people are going to look for the next line on the ballot. They're not going to go so much to Trump. But I don't know.
Cornel West?
They're just like, I can't deal with these guys. Maybe they don't show up.
Right.
But like, I don't get the vibe off of the Kennedy supporters in the focus groups that they're like looking for, that they're actually going to choose between the Democrat and the Republican.
No, I totally agree with you. I think these people are, to a degree, conspiracists, right? They don't believe the reality that's been presented to them by either political party. And so their engagement in politics is done through the prism of someone who's telling them hard truths about society and politics. And it's not like you can just sort of say, okay, well, that guy's gone, so I'll actually, drop all these conspiratorial beliefs about political parties. Like, you don't just change your ideologies like that because RFK says, yeah, you should back Donald Trump now.
Right. And what's super weird about the conspiracism of the Kennedy supporters is, if you have a candidate whose whole shtick and why people are supporting him is he's telling you that the parties are corrupt and I'm different and I'm going to like expose it all, right? And then he does a 180 and endorses one of the candidates. If I'm a Kennedy supporter, I'm like, I was with you on the conspiracy thing, but now you seem to be in on it. Like you seem to be part of this. And I don't think anyone's going to respond to that by saying, oh, I'll support who you're supporting.
Yeah. And maybe, I don't think Kennedy's thought this through to this degree, but I mean, maybe if he gets some sort of a public commitment from Trump to appoint him to some sort of position in government if Trump were to win, maybe that's how he sells it to his people. It's like, look, we need to get a foothold in the door if we wanted to change the system, and I got it, or something like that. I think it could have an effect, honestly, on the margins. I think, I was reading some polling analysis where it's like, oh, he can move the numbers like 0.5 to 1% towards Trump. And like, that might seem small, but like in an election where it's like, 7 states and couple, tens of thousands of votes in each of those states, like that matters. So I'm sort of, I toss up between thinking this is a nothing burger and thinking like, well, this could actually materially impact the race.
But Sam, if they did cut a deal, what are the chances that Kennedy himself is the only one who knows about it? I.e., what are the chances there's somebody else who's going to talk to some reporter, and then the whole story is going to be how Kennedy sold out?
It's possible. And also the other thing to think about is if Trump is, let's say Trump, it does get out that Trump promised Kennedy HHS or something wildly, totally inappropriate to like give Robert Kennedy control over, we're going to create a commission on vaccines and Kennedy will run it. And like, that would be like really off-putting to a lot of people. Like, I think people would be like, wait a second, you're just going to hand over like levers of government to this lunatic on vaccines? Like, why would you do that? Maybe I shouldn't vote for you. So, there's obviously downsides to everything. But yeah, his campaign has not been going well. And so this is an interesting development in the race. Okay, well, you're on vacation. I don't want to keep you too much. You got to go to the beach, man. I will say you've had you've made a couple of points in the course of this conversation that I think would be good articles. And if you have like an hour on hand or maybe more, feel free to write. Okay.
I'm putting them in the file, Sam. I will make something out of it. I promise. A casserole.
Yeah, let's write about flannel shirts and casserole. All right, Will Saletan, thank you so much, man. It's been a pleasure talking to you about this stuff. Sam. We will be in touch. And thank you guys all for tuning into Bulwark on YouTube. Please, as always, subscribe to our channel. But more than that, share it with everyone. We are very invested in growing our YouTube audience. So any help in that would be appreciated. And we'll catch you tomorrow. And tonight, actually, we'll have a live show following the Harris speech. Tune into that. And thanks for watching.